The Arabic word Islam comes from aslama, which can be translated to surrender or to resign oneself. It comes from the same exact root as the word salam, which means peace, and is related to the Hebrew greeting shalom. But you wouldn't know it if you turned on your TV in the past, let's say several decades. The Muslim world has been rocked by those decades of extremist attacks and intra-Islamic strife and warfare. Some in the West think that Islam's problems are internal and that the religion or the cultures of the Middle East are to blame. But those with half a sense of historical understanding know that decades of overturning governments, bombing cities, and historically ham-handed agreements like Sykes-Picot, which divided the Middle East between Russian, British, and French zones of control, are at the root of the problems we all face today. So what is to be done? How can Muslims and non-Muslims come together both to heal the open and gaping wound in the Middle East and present a better, truer face of Islam, one that invokes the actual root meaning of the word? Well, to help us get to the point, we are joined in New York City by Salam Bhatti, national spokesperson for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community USA. Welcome, Salam.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to start, Salam, there's so much in the media about, obviously terrorism in the religion of Islam and the terrible things that are happening in the Middle East. The media especially is responsible, I believe, for painting a very negative image of the religion, the region, and the people. So if you could have one message or one thing to say to your average, non-American Muslim about all of this, what would it be?
Well, first and foremost, we condemn every single act of terrorism that's occurred, especially these latest ones in Lahore, Brussels, and in Turkey. It's an absolute tragedy. And to the common non-American, non-Muslim person out there, or rather American non-Muslim, we want to let you know that Islam is a religion of peace that teaches us to be kind to each other and to be kind to our neighbors, something that's replicable in every single other faith as well.
It most definitely is. It most definitely is.
Now, Salam, we've covered time and time on our show the difference in reaction to terrorism when it takes place in the Western world versus when it happens in Asia or Africa. Why is there such an outpouring of support and sympathy for events in, say, Belgium or France, but not as much for events in Lahore or Nigeria or, it seems, anywhere else?
Well, psychologically speaking, people have said that there is more of a relatability with people in the Western nations. However, that doesn't mean we should be discounting the lives all over the world that are being affected by these tragedies. That's why we have launched the True Islam campaign to educate Muslims and non-Muslims as to what the true teachings of Islam are, so that we can love each other as individuals and as mankind.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. Now, you belong to the Ahmadiyya branch of Islam, which is a little different than other branches. Tell us a little bit about this particular branch of the religion.
So we believe in the 5 core tenets of Islam, which is the declaration of faith, the 5 daily prayers, fasting, paying the zakat, which is the tax on unused wealth, and also making the pilgrimage to Mecca. What differentiates us from other sects within Islam are that we believe that Prophet Muhammad was Khatam al-Nabiyyin, which means the seal of the prophets. And we also believe that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, India, was the second coming of Prophet Jesus.
So let me ask you, how do you respond with the faith that you have and sort of taking in what you just said? How do you respond to pundits who claim that a majority of Muslims support jihad or that Islam is a, as they say, quote, religion of violence? How do you respond to that?
So anti-Islam activists and extremist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda both have one thing in common. They both like to cherry pick from the Quran. Now, there's nothing in the Quran that allows for such violence that we see in the world today. When taken in context, we see that the Quran says to fight only when you are being persecuted for your faith and when all other means have not been, when you haven't been able to, escape that fight. Prophet Muhammad faced 13 years of persecution in Mecca, and then he migrated to Medina. And then it was in Medina where the Meccans came to exterminate all Muslims. And that is when the permission to fight was given. And that is when we are able to fight. So what these extremist groups are doing is just, it's not what Islam is about.
Well, when pundits claim that the solution to this sort of violence problem within the Muslim world, and they say it's the responsibility of Muslims, how do you respond to that? Because it seems at some point that you can't be responsible for every single person who does or follows either your religion or a twisted version of it. So what do you say to those pundits who say it's your responsibility to fix this?
Exactly. So it comes down to education. And this is a model that Prophet Muhammad did as well. He used education to root out extremism within the Arabian Peninsula. And that is what we are doing through the True Islam and the Extremist campaign. It's an 11-point campaign which has the common misconceptions that extremists use to attract the youth to their group. What we have said is that, True Islam advocates for the freedom of speech, for the freedom of religion, for women's rights. And you can see all these points at trueislam.com. And over 3,700 Muslims and non-Muslims across the country have endorsed these points because these are essentially universal principles that we can all back.
What's interesting, we have a clip actually from your website. I want to play that and we'll kind of react to that. Let's play that clip.
If Islam is a religion of peace, why do Muslims do horrific things in the name of Islam? That's a question we know we'll get after somebody with a Muslim-sounding name does something horrific. And we also know that simply saying Islam means peace won't attract much attention. It's been over a decade since the 9/11 tragedy. Yet surveys show that 60% of Americans don't know a Muslim. That's why we, the American Muslim community, are launching the True Islam campaign. This campaign is about exposing how wrong the extremists are about things like freedom of speech, jihad, and human rights.
That's fascinating. Very, very fascinating.
That's interesting. Well, what are the main goals for the True Islam campaign?
The main goal is to educate Muslims and non-Muslims as to what the true teachings of Islam are so that we can increase our national security.
Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Now let me ask you this. I'm seeing a non-Muslim. What can someone like myself or other non-Muslims do to, help assist you in this effort? Because I think that's really what it comes down to is education and also getting along with each other and not having all these stereotypes or not kind of believing the hype that one group is all bad, whether Christian or Muslim. What can we do to help in that?
Well, Tyrell, thanks for offering to help, and we welcome it completely. What we can do is what President Obama said in his previous State of the Union, in which is we are all one family. Now, as one family, we need to be able to look out for each other and to know about each other as well. So if you visit trueislam.com, you can learn a little bit about your Muslim family members and your Muslim neighbors by seeing what these 11 points are. And we welcome you to endorse it. You don't have to endorse all the points, and you can leave a little comment as to why you've endorsed some or none.
That's interesting. That's really fascinating.
It's so interesting that we are sitting here having this conversation that probably should have happened a very long time ago, years ago, but it really hasn't been the answer. And the answer to terrorism has been violence, which obviously doesn't work. And I want to thank you for your work. Are there any last words you want to give our audience about, obviously, trueislam.com, but any last words for the people at home about what you do and what you'd like for them to learn from that?
Well, the reason we are able to unite behind this campaign is through the leadership of His Holiness, the Khalifa of Islam, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, who currently resides in England. He's spoken all over the world about the path to peace and to deal with justice with each other. So using that model, something that the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has used for over 120 years around the world, this is what we are bringing to the American people to unite behind the True Islam campaign.
Well, that's really interesting. Salam Bhatti, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and really giving us this perspective, because I don't think we hear it enough, especially in mainstream news media, that how much, alike our Muslim brothers and sisters are to, non-denominations, Christians, all of that. And we need, like you said, we need that coming together. Thank you very much for coming on, and I hope to have you back again. Once again, the Salam Bhatti, national spokesperson for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community in the USA. Thank you.